we go. Okay, welcome to the Food Mood Connection Masterclass. It's so great to have you here today. If for those of you that don't know me, I'm Lorraine Miller. I'm a health coach, and my area of expertise is helping women overcome overwhelm and stress. And I do this through mindset. Many of you may know that I've done a lot of work in the area of gratitude. And so I bring that into all of the programs that I do and the coaching that I do one-on-one with clients and in groups. And I also do that through diet and lifestyle. So that brings me to the food mood connection, because stress is something that we are dealing with on a daily basis. So one of the things that I focus on is helping women have not just a healthier life, but a happier life. And I believe that we are really meant to be here to learn and to grow, but also to enjoy ourselves and to have fun and to love and experience things. And when we are in a state of joy, when we are in a state of love, that is when our body can heal. And so I believe that we are really meant to be in that state more often. And stress is something that our bodies are equipped to deal with, but stress is something that we're not supposed to be experiencing every day. It's supposed to be something that just happens once in a while so we can learn and grow, but it shouldn't be a daily thing. And food is one of the ways that we can find a way out of stress. It's one of the ways that we can heal. I believe food is medicine, and it can protect us from stress, but it can also cause more stress in the body, and that can affect our mental and emotional health. So that is a big reason why I wanted to do that class. I wanted to kind of go through and explain how that happens, how what we eat and what we're experiencing in our body can actually cause mental and emotional symptoms. And we're not always aware that that's going on. So that is what this class is going to be about today. All right. So I see we have some notes in the chat. Marianne from California, and I'd like to know what to eat to feel better. Awesome. All right. So if you guys want to continue using the chat to say your name, where you're from, and what you're hoping to get out of the class, feel free to do that. So before we get into the material, I'm going to share my screen in a moment, but I'd like you, unless you're walking or exercising, I'd like you to just kind of ground down and get comfortable. Make sure you are, you've turned off your phone or turned off notifications so that you can really focus on the material without distractions. And we're just going to take some deep breaths. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. So let's start with a nice big inhale. And then exhale. One more, inhale. And exhale. And as you exhale, just notice any tension in your body and allow it to release, imagining it melting away. And one more final deep breath in. And exhale. And what this does is the breath is so important. It helps relax the nervous system, but it brings fresh oxygen to your blood and to all your organs. and to your brain so that you can receive this information. So remember to focus on your breath anytime you feel stressed. It's such an easy tool that we have, and it's just a wonderful way to start your day as well. So just taking 3 deep breaths every morning when you wake up is incredible. All right. So I'm going to share my screen now, and we can get started. Okay. So, welcome to the Food Mood Connection Masterclass. Just take a moment to appreciate yourself for being here. This topic is near and dear to my heart. It's something that I've been interested in since I was in my late 20s. I had suffered from mild depression and anxiety at that time. And that was a while ago. And there was a lot less information out there on this topic. So, but I had some kind of like intuition that told me that there was a connection between food and mood. And I started exploring that. And that really put me on this journey of holistic health that I've been on and studying natural health for all these years. And I was able to really associate how different foods affected me. I tried many different diets, and I kind of experimented and explored with food. And it took me years to really figure out what food works for me. And as I've gotten older, I've had to change what foods I eat because as your body um, goes through changes and as you age, you have different needs and different requirements. And I'm just happy to now be offering this program so that you can have access to insights and strategies that I had to figure out on my own. Okay, we have one more person joining us. If you could just mute, let's see, I'm going to mute you. Great. Okay, welcome. All right, so for many years, people kind of pegged me as like a health nut or a health freak. But in reality, I ate the way I did because I didn't want to feel like crap. So I decided to put less crap in my body. And that has made all the difference to me. So there's a saying, garbage in, garbage out. Um, you are what you eat. So I just really made the connection that um, if I wanted to feel better in my body, I needed to really respect what my body was needing. So just put a 1 in the chat if that resonates with you, if anything that I've said so far is something that you agree with, you experience yourself. Go ahead and do that. All right. So today, eating well is so much a part of me and my lifestyle and my family's lifestyle that I don't even really give it a second thought most days. But it is I mean, I do think about it all the time because I love to cook and I love going out to eat and in some ways you could say I'm a picky eater. I do eat lots of vegetables and lots of different things, but I'm picky in terms of the source of my food and the content of my food. And it's kind of like a religion for me. It's a way of life and it suits me. All right. So I'm always learning. I'm always tweaking my diet to support my goals. Lately, I've been doing intermittent fasting, and I'm planning on doing another masterclass on that soon. So please look out for that. But we'll talk a little bit about that today. So please put in the chat, how much do you believe food impacts your mood on a scale of 1 to 10? So 1, it doesn't impact your mood at all, or 10, It completely impacts your mood. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Okay, I see we have a 9. Okay, the number depends on the situation, a 4, and the individual. True. Okay. Great. All right. So the food mood connection happens on a physical, mental, and emotional level. I'm going to say that one more time. The food mood connection happens on a physical, mental, and emotional level. So on the physical level, eating well creates better physical health and less disease. Most of us are familiar with that idea. But the mental and emotional issues are often discounted as being all in your head, right? If you go to the doctor, you say you're depressed or you have anxiety. A lot of times it's only treated on the psychological level. And there are definitely benefits to treating it on the psychological level. But there could also be physical issues going on in the body affecting the mental and emotional part of us that doctors don't always address. And it's kind of up to us to be a detective and figure it out and find alternate ways of getting support around how our diet and our lifestyle and all of that contributes also to our psychological state. Okay. So hold on a second. What's happening here? There we go. Okay. So mental and emotional issues can be the result of physical conditions in the body. So, for example, if you have digestive issues, if you have an overgrowth of yeast in your digestive tract, or if you have IBS or something called leaky gut, those physical symptoms can lead to mental symptoms like brain fog, anxiety, or low mood or depression. And this is why food plays a role in our mental and emotional health. Your body is always trying to communicate with you. Your symptoms are the messages it sends. It's your job to respond. So physical symptoms like headaches, muscle tension, stomach pain, fatigue, skin issues, mental and emotional symptoms like anxiety, depression, brain fog, insomnia, irritability, and all of these things are clues that something is out of balance in the body. So it doesn't matter what the symptom is. If you have any kind of symptom, something's going on in your body and it needs your attention. It's your body is calling for help. It's asking you to take a look at something in your life, in your thought pattern, in your diet, in your lifestyle, in your home. You could have some kind of like mold in your home and it could show up as a symptom in the body. So your body's always talking to you and you want to listen. You want to communicate with your body and figure out what's going on. So root causes of mental and emotional symptoms can be food related, but they can also be health related, stress related, trauma related, grief related, behavioral, or some combination of all of those things. So food is not a substitute for working through these issues, but it is a complement. It is a really, really important complement because if you're having symptoms And let's say they're all mental and emotional symptoms. And you're not eating a diet that's going to support brain health, you're less likely to overcome them. Or if you're going through a lot of stress, you're less likely to be able to handle stress if your diet is not supporting you nutritionally for brain and emotional health and physical health as well. So please share in the chat if you're experiencing any of these symptoms: brain fog, anxiety, depression, irritability, mood swings, insomnia. Let me know what symptoms you may be having, and you can put that in the chat if you feel like sharing. So let's see. Okay. So anxiety seems to aggravate my gut with IBS-like symptoms. Interesting. So it's interesting to see if it's kind of like a chicken or an egg. So anxiety can definitely aggravate IBS, but IBS can also aggravate anxiety. So that's the main message that I want to get across today, that everything is interconnected. And let me know if that resonates. I don't know if that's something everyone is used to hearing. So if you have anything you want to share about that, let me know. So a diet that promotes clarity, strength, and stability is a crucial piece to healing mental and emotional issues, no matter what the root cause. And if certain foods are causing us to have inflammation in the body, so inflammation is pretty much at the root of most disease, or I guess I can say maybe all disease is rooted in inflammation somewhere in the body. And that is causing a negative response or a symptom. So the body is then less equipped to heal our mental and emotional issues, and it can aggravate them or exacerbate them. Inflammation weakens our immune system and our ability to handle stress. So no matter what the root cause is of our mental and emotional issues, food is an essential component because food can cause inflammation in the body. All right. Okay, so I like to think of my body as a chemistry lab. So every time you eat a food or you have a thought or an emotion, it creates a chemical reaction in the body. And the good news is that this allows you to experiment. So we all have something called bio-individuality. We're all different. We all come from different ancestral backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different DNA. We live in different geographic areas. We all have different body types, bio-individuality, and we all have different needs and different needs at different times in our life. But being able to be aware of how food affects you and really looking at your body as a chemistry lab is an incredible tool to help you kind of play detective and see where you can make changes and you can improve your health and you can heal your ailments, your symptoms, your issues. Okay. So here are the key concepts we've covered so far. The food-mood connection happens on a physical, mental, and emotional level. Physical, mental, and emotional symptoms are clues to something being out of balance in the body. And food is an important factor in mental and emotional health, no matter what the root cause. And your body is a chemistry lab. So any questions so far? Any comments? anything sound confusing? Let me know in the chat. All right. Guess we're all good. Okay. All right. Now I want to talk about something called the gut-brain connection. So the gut is often known as the second brain, and that is because there are more than 100 million nerve endings that line your gastrointestinal tract. And the interesting thing, I find this really fascinating, is that 90% of serotonin is found in your gut, and only 10% is found in your brain. Serotonin is the primary neurotransmitter responsible for your mood, and it acts like a hormone. So, so if you've ever had a gut feeling about something, or you've had butterflies in your stomach when you're excited, that is the gut brain connection. And so having 90% of serotonin found in your gut, you can see how having a healthy gut is really paramount to your mental and emotional health. Serotonin carries messages between nerve cells in your brain and throughout your body. And it's a feel-good chemical that affects our mood. It affects happiness, it affects learning, it affects body temperature, sleep, sexual behavior, and hunger. And when you're lacking in serotonin, that is thought to play a role in depression, anxiety, and other health conditions. So therefore, making sure that your gut is healthy is really, really important for mental and emotional health. So for those of you that are having symptoms, whether they're physical, mental, or emotional, I want you to ask yourself, how much are your symptoms impacting your daily life? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1, not that much, or 1, not at all, 2, impacting your life every single day, and it's affecting your life tremendously. Please share that in the chat, or just give that some thought, because that's what when we get to the point where our physical symptoms, our mental and emotional symptoms are affecting us every day, that's really when we need to listen to our body, and we need to address what's going on, because we're not really meant to be living in a way that is less than healthy, right? We're meant to be healthy. There are ways we can heal our bodies, but we have to be aware, first of all, of our symptoms. That's funny, Toby. 9 or 10. Okay. We have to be aware of our symptoms. That's number one. I mean, many people are walking around with symptoms that they're not even aware of. And some symptoms can be really tricky, but other symptoms we can ignore them. We know they're there, but we're not really paying attention, and we're ignoring them. We're like, oh yeah, I'll get to that later. And then the body has to talk louder and louder. And then sometimes it has to really scream at us. And that's when, many people finally decide that they're going to address their issues. So it's the same thing with mental and emotional health. It's being aware of it, and it's getting education around it, learning about it, and then looking for answers, looking for solutions. And a lot of times it's trial and error. It's troubleshooting. So, but the good news is there's a lot of support around this. There's a lot of ways people have been healing on their own with a coach, with other practitioners, many of them alternative, many functional medicine doctors are functional medicine doctors are wonderful. Many of them are helping people with digestive issues and so many of these chronic illnesses that are affecting millions of people every day. Okay, so we're going to continue talking about the gut-brain connection and which foods sabotage gut health and which foods can support it. But before we do that, I want to offer you each a special gift. So because there's so much to cover regarding food and mood, and we won't be able to cover it all today, I would like to invite you to schedule a free 30-minute one-on-one breakthrough coaching call with me where we can take a closer look at your individual symptoms and create a vision and a plan for healing so that you can overcome any challenges that are getting in your way and preventing you from healing and living in a way that you have more joy and more fun and more happiness and less stress and less suffering. So I'm putting in the chat a link to my calendar, and I invite you to take a few minutes now to schedule this free call with me. This is absolutely free. We're going to spend 30 minutes focused on creating a plan and a vision for you. It's not a sales call. It's really my gift because I want to be able to help you as much as I can, and I can only do so much in this masterclass. So definitely take advantage of this. I mean, I normally charge $250 for this type of session, but I'm offering it to you today for free. So go ahead and find a time in my calendar, and then we can focus on you and your healing. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. It's in the chat. I put the calendar in the chat. I forgot to hit send. All right. Okay. All right. So while you're doing that, I want to talk about foods that sabotage brain health and gut health. And much of the foods that are available to us in America and other places around the world, but it's definitely a big problem here in America. Daphne, you can chime in and tell us what it's like in South Africa. But the standard American diet is highly, highly inflammatory. So when we're out and about, when we're at a sporting event, when we're at a theater event, when we're at restaurants, when we are at the mall, most of the food that is available to purchase are inflammatory foods. They're high carb, they're high sugar, refined sugar. They have gluten, they have dairy, they have a lot of things that many people have intolerance to. and they have a lot of chemicals in them and pesticides in them. And this is causing our guts to go crazy. And even if we try to limit it, it can be difficult because not having access to healthy, nutritious, whole foods is a challenge, right? We have to cook food ourselves, and we have to spend time going to the right supermarkets to find the organic foods and things like that. And it can be challenging. And that is probably the number one reason why we have so much chronic illness happening. And why it's also a big factor in why we have this mental health crisis that we have. It's partly because of the diet that we're eating. So when we eat inflammatory foods like refined sugar, processed foods, gluten, conventional dairy, artificial sweeteners. Sorry, I think I have to sneeze. It's gone. And refined vegetable oils, as well as non-organic foods that contain pesticides, the gut can become inflamed. And these toxic substances found in food can break up the tight junctions in your intestinal wall and cause something called leaky gut. So how many of you are familiar with that term, leaky gut? Let me know in the chat, please. And then once this happens, the gut wall absorbs toxins and pathogens that can create autoimmune diseases in the body, right? So we're not supposed to be absorbing these toxins. So the body thinks that it's under attack, and it starts creating this inflammatory response that manifests as all these different autoimmune diseases like arthritis and Crohn's disease and fibromyalgia and IBS and colitis and skin issues and food intolerances. And then symptoms from these diseases can include depression, anxiety, brain fog, ADD, ADHD, food intolerances, hormonal imbalances, chronic fatigue, gas, bloating, skin issues, and the list just keeps going on and on. So put in the chat if you have any of these symptoms that I'm mentioning, and if you think it's related to something in your gut. To maintain a healthy gut, we need to avoid inflammatory foods and refined sugars and processed foods, and we need to add in fermented foods and probiotics. Now, I want to talk about sugar. I wanted to figure out, like, what can I talk about during this one masterclass, because it is a short time that we have together. And I felt like I would be remiss if I didn't devote a little bit of time talking about sugar, because sugar is a huge culprit when we're talking about mood and anxiety and depression. And it also is super, super inflammatory, and it also causes weight gain. So what happens when you eat refined sugar? It spikes your blood sugar unnaturally, and over time that can lead to diabetes and weight gain, but it can also cause mood swings, and it has been linked to anxiety and depression. So what goes up must come down. It can affect hormone levels and activates dopamine so that you crave more. So dopamine is also a neurotransmitter like serotonin, and it's like a feel-good chemical in the body, but it's connected to the reward system. So if you get a dopamine hit from sugar, your body just wants more sugar, and sugar is one of the most highly addictive substances there is. And that's why it's put in all the food that is mass marketed. So there was something else I wanted to say. So now, one of the reasons why the standard American diet is um, is such a problem is because it has these addictive chemicals in it, like sugar. A lot of these foods are containing addictive chemicals and substances. It's also very convenient. It's just like something you can just access wherever you are. And but it's also, there's so much marketing that's done that we're constantly bombarded with marketing around food. And especially late at night, that's another thing. There's a lot of commercials on TV about these unhealthy foods. All right, but getting back to sugar. So alcohol and caffeine can have a similar effect, creating mood swings in the body. So sugar and alcohol withdrawal and caffeine withdrawal can lead to anxiety and depression because your body is looking for something it doesn't have, and it's unhappy physically, which leads to these mental and emotional symptoms. So one thing that is the easiest solution around this is drinking more water. Water can help balance, especially with alcohol and caffeine. If you alternate a glass of water in between an alcoholic or caffeinated drink, that helps your body stay hydrated, and it helps flush out some of the sugar and the alcohol and the caffeine so that your kidneys don't get overburdened. So please put in the chat if you've experienced mood swings where you have highs and lows at different times throughout the day. Maybe you have like that afternoon crash and you need a pick-me-up. You go for coffee, you go for a donut or a cookie or something. Think about how sugar may be the culprit in that crash, or just your anxiety, from day to day. Think about that. How likely do you feel sugar may be the root cause? Okay. So wanting sugar after dinner. Now that's really interesting. So I've played detective quite a bit with my own body, as you can imagine, as I mentioned. And occasionally I will have dessert if it's a celebration. I'm big on celebrations. When we're with family and friends, that is such an important part of life. And I've learned ways to manage those situations. But I think, it's about balance. But I have noticed that if I do have dessert, especially late at night, I feel anxious when I wake up. I don't wake up feeling calm and grateful and happy and excited for the day. I feel like something is off, and I can always pinpoint it to having sugar the night before. And a lot of times it can affect my sleep, and then I don't sleep well, and then I'm definitely cranky and grumpy the next day. So really think about that, and really think about, how sugar affects you, how processed foods affect you, and just something to be aware of. Just notice. One of the big takeaways of this class today is really just developing an awareness, because if I know I feel anxious because I had dessert the night before, that's much easier for me to deal with than being anxious and not knowing why. Does that resonate with anyone? Can you relate to that? Like when you know the root cause of your anxiety or depression or whatever your symptom is, it takes a lot of pressure off, because I know I'm going to feel better as long as I don't have dessert every night. Like I've learned that I'd rather give up dessert so that I can feel good than, you know, having the dessert. And that's not always easy. I don't want to make it sound easy, but for me, my mood was always the number one thing I was trying to fix. And that became the motivator for me. Now, it's not easy to do, and it took a long time, but it's a really good motivator. So let's see. I think I will do a food diary. I hate feeling anxious and not knowing why. Beautiful. Yes. And that's one of the suggestions that I have for everyone. You beat me to it. Keeping a food mood journal is a really, really wonderful idea, because if you know why, you can pinpoint why you might feel a certain way. And it may take a while to figure this out, but chances are you will figure it out. And it can be really helpful to know why. So awesome. All right. So let's move on. So foods that support your mental and emotional health. So there's three main foods I want to talk about today: good fat, clean protein, and antioxidant rich foods. So let's start with fat. So there's good fat and there's bad fat. Today we're going to talk about the good fat. So foods that are rich in omega-3 fats, those are foods found in nuts, seeds, nut and seed butters, avocados, fatty fish, and clean unprocessed oils. These foods are actually neuroprotective, and so they protect your nervous system, and they can boost brain chemicals needed to form new neurons in the brain. And when you're not getting enough healthy fats in your diet, this can cause weakened brain function, cognitive decline, memory problems, brain fog, and mood disorders. So I eat a lot of nuts and seeds. I put them in my smoothies. I will have sliced apple with almond butter. These foods are not only important for brain health, but they actually have protective properties in terms of cancer. So when you think about nuts and seeds, they're really like life. The life of a plant is inside these nuts and seeds. Like they contain all the information the plant needs to grow into a plant or a tree. And eating them on an energetic level, you're really giving your body this life force. And I love thinking about that, because eating a more plant-based diet is the way that we support ourselves in having life force energy. When we buy packaged foods that have been sitting on a shelf for God knows how long, could be months, those foods don't have any life force energy in them anymore. They've been so processed and so preserved that their life force energy is very, very low. But if we want to support ourselves in feeling good and we want to boost our energy, the best way to do that is to eat foods that have more life force energy. So if you eat an apple that was just picked from a tree, that has a lot more life force energy than an apple that maybe was shipped from Washington and, has been sitting in your fridge for a few weeks. Now, I'm not saying don't eat apples that are like that, because I eat apples from Washington. I buy apples frequently. But when you can get local apples, especially during apple season, That's the best kind of food for your body. And then, so other sources, avocados. I eat a lot of avocados. Fatty fish, salmon has a lot of omega-3s. You want to try to get wild caught fish. A lot of the farm fish can be um, polluted or treated with chemicals. You have to really be careful to find clean sources of fish, unfortunately. Same thing with oils. Olive oil has so many benefits. The Mediterranean diet has a lot of olive oil, and that's a very popular diet for many, many years. It's based on clean extra virgin olive oil. It's not the stuff that's heavily processed and marketed and um, has contaminants in it. So you just always want to look for clean sources of fish and oil. And um, and those are definitely more expensive, but you're getting so much more nutrition. I think I remember hearing like an organic apple has 3 times the amount of nutrition than a conventional apple. So what happens is when you spray a pesticide on a plant, you're killing off the pests, the things that can hurt the plant and eat the plant. But you're also weakening the plant's immune system because the plant is designed to know how to fight off those pests. But if you're spraying your plants, then the plant actually gets weaker and the food gets less nutritious. Plus, it has pesticides on it, which your body has to try to get rid of. And when your body doesn't know how to get rid of things, or there's too many chemicals coming in your body at once and it can't keep up. Does anyone know what your body does? Anybody know what your body does when it has too many toxins and it can't detox? Where does it store those toxins? Yep, you get sick. You might get sick and try to get rid of them. But your body stores them in fat cells. Your body doesn't want to put toxins in your organs. It wants to protect your organs. So it stores toxins in fat cells. So people that are eating a lot of toxins will gain weight, and it can be hard to lose that weight. There are ways of doing it, but it's just something to be aware of. Okay, so I want to talk about walnuts for a minute. There is a walnut in this picture, but it's in the shell. But if you think about the walnut when it comes out of the shell and you really look at it, it looks a lot like a brain. And that I find really interesting because walnuts are really good for the brain. And so all nuts are nutrient dense, but walnuts actually contain the highest omega-3 fatty acids of any other nut. So think about that the next time you want to have something healthy. If you like walnuts, just think about that as food for your brain. I recommend adding nuts and seeds to sauteed greens. I actually do that a lot, and it's a great way to get my son to eat sauteed kale and Swiss chard and even dandelion greens. I'll put sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds on top. Sometimes I'll toast them a little. You can add them to salads and bowls, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. You can carry trail mix with you, and you can make your own trail mix. You can add nut butters to smoothies and oatmeal, and you can eat nut or seed butter with sliced apples or celery. And you can even make dairy-free pesto using walnuts or sunflower seeds and some olive oil. All right, so please put in the chat if you think you need to bring more good fat into your diet and if you feel inspired to do so. Okay. Now, next I want to talk about protein. So protein is vital for mental health because proteins are built from amino acids, which play an essential role in the production of neurotransmitters. So if you're not getting enough protein, you're not making enough serotonin. And serotonin is that feel-good chemical that we want to have. Tyrosine is a precursor to dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter, as I mentioned earlier, involved in motivation, learning, and reward. And tryptophan is a precursor to serotonin, which is associated with the feelings of well-being and happiness. And in recent years, it has been discovered that the conversion of these amino acids into neurotransmitters is facilitated by gut microbiota. So that's why we need to make sure we have a healthy gut. It's almost rare to think of the idea. I don't know if rare is the right word I'm looking for, but it's hard to think about being in a good mood if your gut is unhealthy. Because if your gut is responsible for making all these neurotransmitters and it's not healthy, chances are you're going to have mood issues. I just want to share a quick story. After I gave birth, I had all kinds of symptoms. I had a very long labor. It was kind of a traumatic birth experience, and I was really depleted, and my hormones were a mess. And for a couple of months, I had crazy, crazy anxiety. So being a new mom, first-time mom with anxiety, I also had sleep deprivation, which was a big part of that. But I went to see my naturopath, and she did blood work, and she told me to eat more protein. And I wasn't feeling very hungry. Like when serotonin is off and everything is off, your hunger is off. So I really wasn't hungry, but I forced myself to eat protein. And oh my God, it so quickly turned things around for me. And I find that if I get really stressed and busy and I fall off my game with my eating patterns, and I tend to skip lunch and just like grab an energy bar and not really sit down and have, a good protein meal. What do you think happens? Can anyone guess? I have crazy anxiety. And then, but because I know this about myself, I the light bulb goes off pretty quickly. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't have any protein last night at dinner. I didn't have any at breakfast, and I didn't have any at lunch. No wonder I feel like a mess. So what do? I keep grilled chicken in my fridge. You can buy, like, Applegate has this grilled chicken that comes in a bag, and it's just a grab and go, and it's like a miracle for me. It's wonderful. So, but that may not be the case for you. I'm just saying for me, that's what I've learned about my body. So ways to get more healthy protein in your diet. You can add chickpeas, lentils, and quinoa to salads and bowls. I really love making bowls. So what I'll do is I'll make some quinoa. I'll saute some vegetables. Sometimes it's just carrots, celery, and onion. Sometimes it's spinach. Sometimes it's kale. And I'll make some hard-boiled eggs. And I'll just keep those things in the fridge. And then at lunch, I just grab the quinoa. I grab the vegetables. I grab some protein, whether it's the chicken or the hard-boiled eggs or the lentils and quinoa. I mix it up. It's different every time. And and then I'll always put some sunflower seeds, some walnuts, or some pumpkin seeds on there. Hemp seeds are also kind of fun to use, or chia seeds. And it's just so easy. Like once I do the prep work, it's easy for me to get a good lunch. Um, and they're good dinners too. They could even be good for breakfast. Um, Adding protein powder, collagen, and amino acids to smoothies is another great way to get more protein in your diet. You have to find good, clean sources of protein powder if that's something you like to have. A lot of them have soy protein isolate in them, which is not good for women. It's not probably not good for anyone. It's highly processed. It's not a good version of soy. Your body doesn't know what to do with that. So make sure you stay away from that. I really like Truvani brand protein powder. It's what I use now, and it seems to be the cleanest thing that I can find. But as I mentioned, I also put nuts and seeds and nut butter in my smoothies, and that's another way to get good protein sources. And also, I recommend you pay attention to how you feel after you eat different kinds of protein. So there's plant protein and there's animal protein. Some people do great with vegan. I tried that, didn't work for me. I need to get some animal protein and in my diet. And that's what I thrive on. And animal protein has a lot of B12 vitamins. So if you are vegan, you just have to make sure you get a lot of, or you get enough of those B vitamins. Those are very important. But you can bring hard-boiled eggs with you. You can bring grilled chicken with you, even those beef sticks. Sometimes if you really don't have time to cook and you just need something and you don't want to be grabbing just carbs on the go, that can help you get some protein. So any questions about getting good fat or good protein into your diet? And then the last food that I want to talk about are foods that are rich in antioxidants. Um, Antioxidant rich foods are berries, nuts, sweet potatoes, and leafy green vegetables. And those protect you from stress and inflammation. So it's important to make sure that you have those in your diet. If your diet's deficient in antioxidants, it can lead to brain or gut inflammation, which can cause those mood disorders that we talked about. But they also protect you from getting cancer. So they're very important, like nuts, seeds, berries, leafy greens. Those foods, and actually garlic and onions, those foods really have so many health benefits. If you just focused on those foods, getting more of those in your diet, that can be incredible. All right. So, and then one thing, I'm going to go over these 6 food mood strategies to kind of summarize what we talked about today. But I also want to bring up intermittent fasting because that is something that is a way, especially for women, to work with your cycle. And if you're postmenopausal, you can use fasting to help with the weight loss goals that you have. So I don't have time to go into it too much today, but I know, Daphne, you had questions about this. So women that have a cycle, can work with their cycle and use fasting to help support what their body is going through. So fasting is something, intermittent fasting is something where you are not giving your body glucose, um, let's say 16 hours a day. You're giving your body glucose a shorter window, maybe 8 hours a day, and you're fasting 16 hours a day. And what that does is it allows your body to switch to the other energy system where it burns fat. And not only does it do that, but it gives your body a rest from digesting. So it helps you detox and repair. You build stem cells when you're in intermittent fasting. But if you're eating in a bigger window, a 16-hour window, or even, 14-hour window, your body's not getting a chance to switch into that other energy system, and it's not getting a rest from digestion. And it's always looking for more glucose. There's a really great book called Fast Like a Girl. I highly recommend it. And it's written by Dr. Mindy Peltz. And then she wrote another book called The Menopause Reset. And she talks about fasting in both of these books. And after menopause, or if you're under a lot of stress, even pre-menopause, you're producing a lot of cortisol, and the body doesn't know what to do with all this cortisol. And when the body is under so much stress, it thinks that it needs to protect itself, so it will store fat. And also, it will store fat if there's too many toxins. And toxins can also be formed from stress itself. It can be formed from, just anxiousness and being overwhelmed and busy, that it just produces a toxic reaction in the body, and the body wants to, store all of that in fat. And that's why we have one of the reasons why we can have trouble losing weight. So fasting can be a really wonderful way to reset your whole system, reset your body from stress, reset it and detox and lose weight and reduce inflammation. So that is something I would definitely look into, and I look forward to bringing you guys a masterclass on that in the near future, because I think it's a great way to really, cover all these different issues with one focus and one goal and one assignment, to really just expand your fasting window so that your body can get that break. So before we end, I want to hear what questions you might have about that or anything else we covered today. And while you're writing those out, I'm just going to go over the summary. So these are my 6 food mood strategies to support mental and emotional well-being. So first strategy is to plan ahead to prep healthy meals in advance and use the power of bowls and smoothies to create nutrient-dense, protein-balanced meals. So I like to do some meal prep on Sundays. So it could be helpful to have one day during the week that you do some meal prep, and you cook some veggies or you cook some protein, and you have it in your fridge so that when you're busy, when you're stressed, you're not going to fall down on eating healthy because it's right there for you. And you can buy these containers on Amazon, these like almost like a bento box kind of thing. I got really into them when I was looking for one for my son because he wanted a bento box for his lunchbox. And it can be really fun to just, pack these different things and take it with you. If if you work outside the home or if you're out with the kids, and you can have a bowl. The same thing with a smoothie. You can make a smoothie and you can put things in it to get more nutrients into your diet. You can bring nuts, seeds, and protein snacks with you. Always try to balance carbs with fat and protein. So you don't want to be eating snacks that are just primarily carbs, because that's going to spike your blood sugar and can cause those up and down mood swings. This is really helpful. Just make one change at a time. You don't want to overwhelm yourself with too much at once. So start with one meal. Maybe it's lunch, maybe it's breakfast. And just say, okay, I'm just going to make sure that I'm getting a balanced lunch in maybe 2 or 3 days this week. And you just start from there. You give yourself time and grace, and understand change doesn't happen overnight. Just go slow. Even just changing one meal and having an awareness around it is really helpful. We talked about keeping a food mood journal. You can play detective to see how food affects you. Super important. And don't forget to go back and look and see where you might have patterns, and maybe give yourself like a 2-week or 4-week time frame to just focus on that. Just that alone is enough. And then once you see where the patterns are, then you can make small changes as you go along. I love to bring gratitude into the mix. Gratitude is something that can really help you in so many different areas that you may want to be working on. It can help, first of all, it can help boost your mood. It does help you increase those neurotransmitters. Just simply keeping a gratitude journal increases serotonin and dopamine. And I always say, get your dopamine hit from gratitude, right? And you won't need it from sugar. It also helps you appreciate the little things you're doing for yourself. When you are setting out to heal yourself, it can be very overwhelming. It can be very challenging. And you may think like, oh, I'm doing all these things and nothing's working. But when you're practicing gratitude, it's a reminder that you are doing a lot of things. It's a reminder to appreciate all the things that you are doing. And when you bring that appreciation to what you're doing, energetically, it has more power. And when it has more power, when the body is recognizing it as something good, that has an effect on your body's ability to heal. If you're doing a lot of things to heal, but you're feeling like you're not doing enough, your body is going to respond and think, oh, she's not doing enough. This isn't enough. And you're going to constantly be stuck in that state of lack. So when you practice gratitude and you appreciate the little things that you do, and you practice self-gratitude, where you include yourself on the list of what you're grateful for, that can make a huge difference in what happens physiologically in the body. There's something called the mind-body connection. The mind knows what you're feeling, and the body responds to that. So you want to send messages to your mind, through your mind, to your body, that you are doing this out of love. You are doing this out of love for your body, and that you're human and you are on your journey, and you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all the answers, and you don't even have to have success right away. As long as you know you're doing your part and you give yourself time and you're gentle and kind with yourself, that's what your body needs. Think of your body as almost like a little version of you, a younger version of you, a little child that just needs a lot of love and attention. And if you can give that to yourself, you'll have so much more success with whatever it is you're trying to work on and trying to heal. I'm putting in the chat a link to my podcast. It's called The Gratitude to Bliss Show. And episode 1, I walk you through how to get the most out of a gratitude practice. So I strongly advise you to listen to that episode and get started with a gratitude practice if you aren't already. And then my last tip is to get support if you need it, if you need help. If you need help, get support, find a support group, find a coach, find a practitioner, find somebody that can guide you and help you, because it's so much easier when you have support. Because if you're struggling and you feel like you want to give up, a coach can really help you stay on track, stay focused, and keep going. And there's so many coaches out there. There's practitioners. There's so much more support than there used to be. So if you set your intention and you know when you need support, it's there for you. So I'd love to know what you got out of this information today. Please put in the chat anything that was particularly helpful. I'm going to stop sharing now. You can also come on screen if you want to share anything about this class, any questions you have. We're going to end in a few minutes, so I want to make sure you leave here with all your questions answered. Yes, intermittent fasting is definitely something to look into. Wonderful. You're very inspired. Anything in particular inspire you? Anyone else want to comment? Now, for those of you who have, okay, let's see. Taking care of myself is a way of nurturing my soul. Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. For each of you who attended live, you are all going to be able to take advantage of a 50% discount that I'm offering on my 3-month coaching program, which I will be running this summer. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely send me an email and let me know so I can send you the information on that. I'm also going to put my calendar in the chat one more time. So if you haven't already signed up for your free breakthrough session with me, you can do that now. Let me just find it. Okay, there it is again. And if there aren't any other questions, we will end now. Thank you. I really enjoyed having all of you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating. And reach out if you have any questions, and look out for more master classes to come and information about my group coaching program. Great. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.